take a look at recruitment. When the labor market changes, the supply of qualified workers may grow, shrink, or change in nature. To prepare for and respond to these challenges, organizations engage in human resource planning, identifying the numbers and types of employees the organization will require to meet its objective. Human resource planning requires knowledge of recent trends and practices, including downsizing, employing temporary workers, and outsourcing. Recruiting is the process by which organizations look for people to fill job vacancies. To meet business objectives and gain an advantage over competitors, organizations should carry out human resource planning. To do this, organizations need a clear idea of the strengths and weaknesses of their existing internal labor force. They also must know what they want to be doing in the future. Human resource planning compares the present state of the organization with its goals for the future, then identifies what changes it must make in its human resources to meet those goals. The changes may include downsizing, training existing employees in new skills, or hiring new employees. The process consists of 3 stages: forecasting, goal setting and strategic planning, and program implementation and evaluation. In personnel forecasting, the HR professional tries to determine the supply of and demand for various types of HR. The primary goal is to predict which areas of the organization will experience labor shortages or surpluses. Forecasting supply and demand can use statistical methods or judgment. Statistical methods capture historical trends, where judgment allows the organization to consider unpredictable or new labor market conditions. Usually an organization forecasts demand for specific job categories or skill areas. After identifying the relevant job categories or skills, the planner investigates the likely demand for each. Once a company has forecast the demand for labor, it needs an indication of the firm's internal labor supply, as well as the changes expected in the near future as a result of promotions, transfers, and voluntary turnover. The second step in HR planning is to set goals and to plan strategically. Setting specific goals provides a basis for measuring the organization's success in addressing labor shortages and surpluses. For each goal, the organization must choose one or more HR strategies. Organizations are most likely to benefit from hiring and retaining employees who provide knowledge and skills that create value for customers. Downsizing is the planned elimination of large numbers of personnel with the goal of enhancing the organization's competitiveness. Although downsizing has an immediate effect on costs, evidence suggests that it hurts long-term organizational effectiveness, especially among firms that engage in high-involvement work practices. Another popular way to reduce a labor surplus is with an early retirement program. Research suggests that these programs encourage lower-performing older workers to retire. Sometimes they work so well that too many workers retire. It's difficult to predict exactly how many new employees the organization will have to hire in any given year. In HR, recruiting is the process of identifying and attracting potential employees that the organization can draw on if the need arises. It creates a buffer between planning and the actual selection of new employees. The goals of recruiting, encouraging qualified people to apply for jobs, and selection, deciding which candidates would be the best fit, are different enough that they are most effective when performed separately. Because companies differ in their strategies, they may assign different degrees of importance to recruiting. Ultimately, an applicant's decision to accept a job offer depends on the match between the vacancy characteristics and the applicant's characteristics. Recruiting involves 3 aspects: personnel policies, recruitment sources, and recruiter traits and behavior. An organization's human resource policies are its decisions about how it will carry out human resource management. These policies influence the nature of positions that are vacant. Several personnel policies are especially relevant to recruitment. Organizations with policies to promote from within try to fill upper-level vacancies by recruiting candidates internally. Opportunities for advancement make a job more attractive to applicants as well as employees. Pay is an important job characteristic for almost all applicants. Organizations have a recruiting advantage if their policy is to take a lead-the-market approach to pay, that is, pay more than the current market wage for the job. Within states where employment at will laws are operating, employers have the latitude to set policies about their rights in an employment relationship. An alternative is to establish exclusive due process policies, which formally lay out the steps an employee may take to appeal an employer's decision to terminate that employee. Job applicants are more attracted to organizations with due process policies, which imply greater job security and concern for protecting employees, than to organizations with employment at will policies. Research suggests that an image of an organization influences the degree to which a person feels attracted to the organization and interested in being part of it. Of course, the image needs to be aligned with the actual experience of working for the company. A critical element of an organization's recruitment strategy is its decisions about where to look for applicants. The methods the organization chooses for communicating its labor needs and the audience it targets will determine the size and nature of the labor market the organization taps to fill its vacant positions. Relying on internal sources generates applicants who are well known to the organization and know the organization well. Internal recruiting is generally cheaper and faster than looking outside. However, for entry-level positions, and perhaps for specialized upper-level positions, the organization has no internal recruits from which to draw. Also, bringing in outsiders may expose the organization to new ideas or new ways of doing business. Direct applicants have often done some research and concluded that there's enough fit between themselves and the position to warrant submitting an application. In surveys that ask employers to identify their top sources of candidates, referrals are often at the top of the list. Many job seekers look to friends, relatives, and acquaintances to help find employment. Referrals and direct applications are among the best, most cost-effective sources of new hires. Some employers offer current employees financial incentives for referring applicants who are hired. The major downside of referrals is that they limit the likelihood of exposing the organization to new viewpoints. People tend to refer others who are like themselves. Often employers must seek out people who don't know about the job opening and might not even be actively looking for work. Today's efforts increasingly use channels like information systems and social networks. Until recently, job boards, such as Indeed, were top ways to recruit, and they still play a role. Workers who are actively interested in a new job can set up a profile to be noticed when a job matching their criteria is posted. In general, there are few rules that say that the recruitment source is best for any given vacancy. Therefore, it's wise for employers to monitor the quality of their recruitment sources. HR professionals can determine which source is best and most efficient or effective for a particular type of vacancy. The third influence on recruitment outcomes is the recruiter, including their characteristics and behavior. The recruiter affects the nature of both the job vacancy and the applicants generated. In many cases, by the time a recruiter meets some applicants, they've already made up their minds about what they desire in a job. Knowing it's the recruiter's job to sell them on a vacancy, some applicants discount what the recruiter says in light of what they've heard from other sources, such as friends, articles, or professionals. When candidates are already familiar with the company through knowing about products, a recruiter's impact is especially weak. According to some studies, applicants perceive HR specialists as less credible and as less attracted to jobs when recruiters are HR specialists rather than experts at a particular job. In general, applicants respond positively to recruiters whom they perceive as warm and informative. The evidence of impact of other characteristics of recruiters, including their age, sex, and race, is complex and inconsistent. Many studies have looked at how well realistic job previews, background information about jobs' positive and negative qualities, can help organizations minimize turnover among new employees. Although realistic job previews have only a weak association with reduced turnover, the cost of the effect or effort is low and relatively easy to implement. Consequently, employers should consider using them as a way to reduce turnover among new hires.